Like clockwork, Bayern Munich make a signing from a fellow Bundesliga side, and the calls for them poaching the league's best talent and diluting the rest of the league ring out across the football world. But is this really a fair claim, and is it any different from what happens in other leagues? Or even in the Bundesliga itself, but with other teams? Hey, I'm Adrian, and welcome to Rabonus TV. I'm looking forward to today's video simply because the calls of Bayern just buying up the talent in the rest of the league to weaken their opposition are getting a little bit boring, in my opinion, and perhaps are overblown, while a similar rule or condemnation is not being applied to the rest of the teams in the league that do the same thing. A little bit more of an opinion video than an explainer this time. Thought I'd change it up a bit, and I am absolutely curious to hear what you guys have to say on this topic. Have a listen, then drop your opinion below. Looking forward to reading them all. And by the way, if you want to follow the Bundesliga much more closely, then OneFootball has got you covered. OneFootball gives you access to the fastest breaking Bundesliga news, allowing you to customize your newsfeed with all of the teams and competitions you care about, or take it a step further and follow the news feeds of specific players. Plus, you can follow matches live with OneFootball's in-depth match tickers, watch highlights and other videos, stream games from certain leagues, and much more. Download the OneFootball app for free by using the link in the description below, available on iOS and Android. Thanks for sponsoring this video, OneFootball, supporting an independent creator such as myself. I appreciate it greatly, and let's talk German transfers. Before we get too deep into it, let's take a quick look at some of the players that Bayern have purchased from German clubs, and I'll divide them up between whether those teams were a direct rival at the time or not. And this is actually an important point before I get into the transfer themselves, whether they were a direct rival at the time or not, because as you guys know, Germany has sort of a revolving door of top teams. The two constants in the past 10 to 15 years have of course been Borussia Dortmund and Bayern, but we've seen Stuttgart win the league and since get relegated twice, Wolfsburg win the league and then drop as low as 15th before finishing second, and 2 seasons later finishing 16th for consecutive seasons. It's all over the place. The core at the top rotates in and out somewhat. Schalke is there in second one season, and now we're looking destined for relegation. Bayer Leverkusen finishes top 3 just twice in the last 8 years. Gladbach once. Hoffenheim had a 3rd place. I mean, the core in the top 6 changes often with a few constants there or thereabouts. Your Leverkusen, Schalkes, Gladbachs, etc. And so when a team does well, no doubt there will be individuals from that side that stand out. And so let's see how many of Bayern's signings have been from a top rival versus just another German team. And we'll sort it out from there, because one of the main things mentioned is Bayern always buys from their rivals and they're ruining the competition. Let's see if that's true. 2021, the most recent one, Dayot Upamecano from RB Leipzig for 42 million. Undoubtedly, this is buying from a title rival. Leipzig sit in second. 2020, Alex Nübel from Schalke, definitely not a rival as they absolutely collapsed and Nübel barely played in the latter half of the season. To be fair though, that was probably because it was announced that he was on his way to Bayern. 2019, Pavard from Stuttgart for 35 million, not a rival as they were relegated by the time he had arrived at Bayern. 2018, Goretzka came for free from Schalke, who finished second that season, but then 14th the next. Kind of a title rival, but not really because they finished 21 points behind Bayern and continued to slump after that. Süle for 20 million, Rudy for free, and Wagner for 13 million, all from Hoffenheim, arguably a rival at that time as Hoffenheim finished 3rd that season, but again, they were way behind too, about 30 points behind Bayern. Is that really a title rival? I don't think so. Hummels from Dortmund for 35 million, no doubt. He goes in the title rival column, and they sent Mario Götze in the other direction, back to Dortmund as well as Sebastian Rode. Kimmich from Stuttgart for 8.5 million. Not even close to being a rival at that time, in 14th that season, narrowly avoiding relegation before getting relegated in the following season. Here's the big one, Robert Lewandowski for free from Dortmund in 2014 as they got him on a pre-contract. Absolute rival, no doubt about it, as Dortmund were giving them hell in the league at that time. The season prior to signing Lewandowski, they bought Götze from Dortmund, massive signing, but never really took off at Bayern as he did at Dortmund previously. He's a title rival, throw him in the column. Mandzukic from Wolfsburg for 13 million, not a rival at the time in 2012, and Dante from Gladbach for 4.5 million. I mean, Bayern finished just 13 points of Gladbach, so fine. We'll put him in the title rival column. And of course, Manuel Neuer from FC Schalke for 30 million, who in his final season with Schalke finished in 14th, not a rival in the slightest. So here's our final rival versus non-rival table. What do you think? Now, another thing that pisses people off are the free transfers. Goretzka, Lewandowski, Rudy, and Nubel were all free, with only Lewandowski, in my opinion, being from a direct rival at the time. A consistent rival at least, as Hoffenheim and Schalke, they're all over the place. Well, to answer the question of this section of the video, other teams in Germany are quite guilty of this too. You just don't hear many people complaining as much, or at least those complaints don't reach a broader audience outside of Germany. In the summer of 2019, Borussia Dortmund bought arguably Bayer Leverkusen's top player in Julian Brandt, as well as who I consider to be Borussia Mönchengladbach's best player at the time, in Thorgan Hazard. Add to that Nico Schulz from Hoffenheim, who was a flop at Dortmund, but great for Hoffenheim, and you could argue that Dortmund were snapping up all the talent in the Bundesliga around them, from the teams that are competing close to them. The season before that, Abdou Diallo from Mainz, and Thomas Delaney from Werder Bremen. Let's just keep on going through it here, why not? Omar Toprak from Bayer Leverkusen, Mahmoud Dahoud from Gladbach again, Schürrle from Wolfsburg, Castro from Leverkusen again, Roman Bürki from Freiburg, Socrates from Werder Bremen, Marco Reus from Gladbach again, etc., etc. This season, they took Marco Rose from Gladbach. So for the most part, all from teams that were competing with Dortmund or just below them. Where do Leverkusen get their players from? Demir Bey and Amiri from Hoffenheim, Weiser from Hertha, Radetzky from Frankfurt, Bender from Dortmund. They got Volland from Hoffenheim. I mean, you've got to get the point now, right? There's a bit of a food chain in Germany. Hell, in all leagues there's a food chain, where the cream rises to the top. If a player does well at Team A, then inevitably he will be wanted by big Team B. And bigger teams, usually first in the country where he is playing, and if he's good enough, by clubs in other countries as well. It's normal, there's nothing new here really. And Bayern, they just so happen to be a huge club, the biggest in Germany, both in success and in support, and so naturally, the best talent within the country will get absorbed by them. And without a consistent rival over the past while, they're the easy choice to join. Their name holds a lot of sway, and it's hard to say no to going to a team that wins championships consistently and competes in Europe, let alone wins in Europe fairly regularly. Winners of the Champions League twice in the last 10 years. Players want this upward movement in their careers. They want that step up. And for players that are in Germany already, they aren't just moving to the top German side, but one of the top teams in the world. They're instantly stepping into the upper echelon of football. You can't begrudge them of that. And Dortmund has that sort of pull as well, let's be clear. My man Manuel Veth tweeted this photo from Transfermarkt recently, and you can see here that Dortmund has spent more, with an asterisk next to it, than Bayern on players from top 6 Bundesliga clubs, because of course that doesn't account for the free transfers of Goretzka and Lewandowski, which would probably take Bayern to the number 1 spot as far as euros spent, no doubt about that. But it goes to show that Dortmund aren't too far off either, yet you don't hear nearly as much noise about them. I guess it's simply because, and it really does suck to say this, but through poor coaching or recruitment, the chasing pack has failed to take advantage of Bayern's slips in past seasons. And so the easy, lazy analysis is to just say it's because Bayern have monopolized the talent in the league. Something you always hear when a top Premier League side is linked with a player within the league is, oh, and on top of being a great talent, he has Premier League experience, so it's less of a gamble here. The exact same premise applies in Germany. If you can buy a talented player that you know is already thriving in the league you compete in, then that's a bonus, as it cuts out a major variable for you. You know that they have succeeded in the league prior. It's the same reason why United bought Robin van Persie and Dimitar Berbatov from Arsenal and Spurs respectively, not to mention Lukaku from Everton. It's the same reason why Chelsea went after N'Golo Kante from Premier League champions Leicester City, or Man City bought Walker from Spurs, or all of the Southampton players that have gone to Liverpool, and Sterling to City from Liverpool. I mean, the teams that are at the top of the food chain, much like in Germany, have that gravitational pull for talent from the teams below them. It's a step up for the player, and it's a quality player that the team can sign. It's why Juve bought Higuain from Napoli, the holder of the single season scoring record at the time, you know? For me, it just seems like the natural order of business. The big teams pull in the best players from within their league. Sure, there's an inclination to resist selling to your rivals, but with exit clauses or players being on the last year of their contract, or with the emergence of more and more pre-contract agreements, players joining a rival team cannot be ruled out. And in Germany, the culture seems to be a bit different surrounding selling to direct rivals. While teams will do their best to not sell to Bayern or to Dortmund, the way around it is Bayern's patience in those cases. And whether there's some tapping up involved or not, I don't know, but approaching players on a pre-contract is certainly allowed and something that Bayern isn't afraid to do. With this recent Upamecano signing, where they triggered the release clause just as any other team in the world could have, they bought from one of the top development clubs in the world, which is part of a family of clubs that prides itself on developing talent. That's why RB Salzburg players are being bought up from clubs around Europe, namely in Germany, because that's their entire approach. Sign promising talent, develop it, and try to do the best you can with it before they are ultimately sold. Werner went to Chelsea, but Upamecano happened to go to Bayern. So for me, this is all just a non-headline, really. It shouldn't be Bayern Munich hoover up more Bundesliga talent. It should just be European giant signs one of the most sought after defenders in the world, because really, that's all it is. And with the talent factories such as Leipzig, who just so happens to be in the same country as them, with the likes of Konate, Halstenberg, and Willi Orban all there already, let alone the other players on their radar, they already have the pieces in place to replace Upamecano. Maybe one of them will end up at Bayern as well. Who knows? Or maybe Bayern will look abroad for their next signing, as they've done with Man City, Espanyol, Marseille, PSG, Juventus, Atletico, Barcelona, Inter, Vancouver, Lyon, Real Madrid, and on and on and on. It's not just within Germany that they're buying their players. But that's it. That's my opinion on the matter. I am very curious to hear what you guys think. I know it's a hot topic right now and it gets people heated, but there's no need to be upset. Right, guys? As the classic meme says. I thank you for your time. My name is Adrian. This is Rabona TV, and take care. Ciao.